Weather brought to you by Howard Aaron Plumbing. Whether replace or repair, call Howard Aaron Plumbing. I'm Patricia Valencia on Arizona's news station, KTAR News.
Strong values and strong opinions. The Mike Broomhead Show, KTAR News, 92.3 FM, and the KTAR News app.
All right, thanks for joining us this morning. In studio with me is Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes. It's good to see you.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me.
So I want to start, before we get into why I asked you to come in, I want to do a little state business. When you were here the last time, I didn't ask this question. It's been bugging me ever since that I didn't ask you.
Oh, my goodness.
It has to do with voting, because you had been very vocal about the need to fix the systems. The glitch that happened where people were using driver's licenses, proof of citizenship, and that really wasn't what was going to work, and something had to be done to fix it. Has that been rectified?
We're working through it.
Okay.
This is an issue that's dealing with a legacy system at the Motor Vehicle Division. It pushes data up into the voter registration system, and the push is getting worked through. And so now where we're at is making sure that the counties get in contact with voters so that we can make sure that everybody who is eligible to vote the full state ballot can, and those folks that don't have documented proof of citizenship, as the law requires, on record, can ameliorate that, and then we can move forward and get this cured up by the next big election.
Yeah, I hadn't asked that question with everything we were talking about. So now let's get down to business. Everybody's reporting you are strongly considering running for the seat of the late Congressman Raul Grijalva. Are you strongly considering it?
Well, first let me say this. Raul Grijalva served Congress and served that district really, really well for a very, very long time. The district is my home. I was born and raised in Nogales. I served in the Marine Corps out at Marine Corps Air Station Yuma, Arizona. I was the chief deputy recorder in Pima County. So this is not even really a homecoming for me, because I've got a lot next to my dad's house. I've been wanting to build a house down there for years. So
what you're saying is you're going to run?
Well, no. What I'm saying is there's a very strong personal pull. I have a lot of family down there. I've got a lot of friends down there. That's home for me, right? Phoenix is great. I love the people here, and I love the whole state. And and I represent the district now. I am a statewide elected official, and so all of those folks down there are already my folks. They're already my voters, and I already represent them, I think, pretty well. So it's just a question of going through the exercise, crossing the T's and dotting the I's and being smart about it.
Because what you said sounds like you're leaning towards saying yes, and you've listed the reasons why it would be a good thing. What would cause you to say no?
Oh, there's a whole host of reasons that might cause me to say no. Okay. I mean, there are several other individuals who are considering it. And, nobody has any entitlement to this. Nobody who's, any of the local folks down there or other people who may not be thought about at this stage more popularly, right? It's going to be a fight no matter what. But what would lead me to say no are some of the things in the no column, right? I still got a freshman in high school here at Camelback High School in the Phoenix area. And while I've got joint custody with my ex, it's week on, week off. That would make scheduling a little difficult, at least for a couple of years. And the other two are going to be off to college, so I'm not really worried about them. There's plenty of other things that we're doing right now that are really important. I'm very involved with trying to get a replacement for the ISAC, which is the Information Sharing Center that was with CISA and the Department of Homeland Security, and the secretaries of state across the country, Republicans and Democrats alike, have benefited greatly from that. I've been leading the charge to figure out an alternative to what the Trump administration has done, eviscerating that watchdog, and several other things. So there's a bunch of stuff in the no, don't do it column. I've got a lot of friends across the country who are asking me, cheerleading one direction or another. So this is really an exercise in serious contemplation. It's not just me saying I'm thinking about it, meanwhile doing it. I genuinely am thinking about it and making the preparations just in case. Right, so the date trigger is April 14th. That's the day the petitions are due. So between now and then, we're going to be doing everything we can to be prepared in case this is real. And if it's not, we just keep on trucking at the Secretary of State's office.
Do you have a day in mind or a timeline in mind for making an announcement one way or the other?
Well, no big formal announcements, certainly until the congressman's funeral arrangements. You know, there are preparations, I will say, behind the scenes. You know, if I'm not going to wait to prepare. Look, I'm an election administrator.
Snap your fingers.
I'm a Marine. You know, we got to have our stuff ready to go. And so we are already making preparations. And so, you know, people are going to start talking about, oh, I saw this, oh, I saw that. Yeah, I can't get into a battle unprepared, right? You got to put on your boots, you got to put on your gear and move forward. But that doesn't mean that it's a sure deal until it is a sure deal. And that drop dead date, so the last day is going to be April 14th.
Okay. When you, your name has been, you know, people talk about you in different offices. I'm not trying to start a civil war in the Democratic Party, but your name's been brought up about a run for the governor's office.
Yeah.
You know, is that a consideration?
Yeah, well, you know, it's always very flattering when people say, "Hey, we really think you need to run for governor and challenge the governor." That's flattering because that means people think that I'm worthy of that office, and it's something that people think about. Look, let's be honest. Politicians are ambitious people. I'm a politician. I'm an ambitious person. You know, there's no reason to lie about it and play coy. But I'm also a father. Right. I have a fiance. We're getting married in November. I have a life, and that life is not as public as some other people's lives, but it is something that I have to consider. I'll have a stepson with a pretty significant disability that we have to consider.
That video still.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, you saw that stuff. So look, this is. Like anyone out there who's thinking about a career change and who's in something good and sees a great opportunity. You know, what if there's a new company moving into town and they're a competitor of yours and you really think that you'd fit better with that corporate culture? Or, you know, what if a new high school opens up closer to your house and you're a high school teacher? Do you leave your students behind and go to this other high school even though you're doing the same or similar work? And, you know, this is different work, obviously, but people go through these moments, and it's a moment that I'm going through, and I'm not just going to make the decision willy-nilly, but I am going to be preparing for a positive decision, even if it doesn't fully manifest that way.
How much will who else may throw their hat in the ring? How much will other candidates from the Democratic Party affect your decision?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't make decisions based on what other people are doing unless they control something, right? The only thing that anybody else would control is the number of other candidates on the ballot. So the decisions that other people make are their decisions to make. If they want to try a run against me between now and then, knock your socks off, right? We welcome all comers. I've had very tough primaries. I've had uncontested primaries. I've ran very tough elections, and I think I've done pretty well so far on the political side of things, showing that I've got the grit to come back even from a loss like I did between 20 and 22. So I'm not going to worry about what other people are doing. This is a decision about my career and my family and my service to this state and this country.
I'll tell you two things. I always appreciate the debate when we often disagree on things, but you're always willing to have a civil debate. It's never personal. It's always a fun conversation on very serious issues. And also your transparency, your willingness to say, I'll come in studio and address this today. I appreciate you being willing to do that. I think that speaks volumes in both cases.
Well, look, here's the deal about public service. You're a public figure. So warts and all, people feel like they own you a little bit. And you've got to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable. You've got to be willing to open up. You know, I'm going to be, right now, I have a lot of control over the way the processes work for people to vote, right? For the way the processes work for corporations to open up and partnerships to register. I have a lot of control over the way people's lives run in these areas. And potentially in Congress, boy, the impact would be huge on a national level. I think people deserve to hear what's going on in my head, what sorts of things I think about when I'm making my decision process. And it's that kind of openness, I think, that doesn't exist in a lot of places, particularly in politics.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to do it in business. You don't have to necessarily do it in other worlds. But in politics, you are a public servant. You embody the office itself. I am right now the Secretary of State. At some point in the future, whether at the end of a term or at the end of some other reason, I won't be in the future, but right now I am. And so the public deserves to hear, and they deserve to know. And that's one of the things that I hope to bring if I do run for this office is sort of a level of transparency in the way that I think about things. Because there's some really complicated issues out there. You know, we're going to have to deal with the border, and I'm going to have to talk about what my thought process is on the border. We're going to have to talk about Israel. That's a prickly pear, and that's something that we're going to have to talk about. We're going to have to talk about the potential of losing Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. Those are really important subjects for people's lives. And I think what people need and what they've got in me already is a leader that is willing to have these conversations about how I approach the subject, not just someone who dictates, here's my opinion, take it or leave it. That I think is a wrong-headed way to serve in Arizona, and that's not the way that I was raised.
Well, I hope you'll come back when you make the decision and tell us what the decision is and why you made it. Will you do that?
It's probably going to be because I'd have to spend less time in your studio. No, I'm just kidding, man. I love coming in here with you guys.
All right, it's the Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, spending a few moments with us. Coming up, it's Gatos and the Big Q poll question of the day. Let's talk very quickly. I'm going to tell you about Red Mountain weight loss. Listen, the GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, they have them in stock. There are no shortages. You can get them today. And for a limited time, they are taking $200 off their already low price. They already have prices that are less than half the price of Ozempic with the full strength. And now you can do this and with another $200 off on the program. You could be 15 pounds lighter this time next month, and you get the backing of a medical team that's been around for over 30 years.